things like that, I always would end up, either cutting myself, piece of wood or something you're wearing and you're a kid. Kids injure themselves in that. But injuring myself and getting hurt didn't necessarily always bother me more than the enjoyment I had from doing different activities. So it's kind of like one of those things where cutting yourself, I'd look down and be like, oh geez, I'm bleeding. But it didn't, the effect of somebody who sometimes gets a paper cut and, it's like their arm getting cut off. I guess that I had what I would consider a decent pain tolerance because I could, get a sliver or something like that. And, it would be like, oh, it's fun to take a needle and, dig around and get it out kind of, one of those kind of relationship where I didn't mind interacting with myself and I guess giving myself some pain. Interesting
okay.
enough. So I remember that as a kid, and then coming into what I did with the bat, it's like, why would I keep hurting myself with doing, that's kind of like the curiosity overwhelms the fact that I know it's going to hurt, but, maybe there's enjoyment in it. So that was kind of I've always been a tinkerer in things, no matter, if it's necessarily dangerous or not, it's still something to explore,
Okay, so now let's fast forward, and you're doing this as a career now, and you found a community. So tell us how this became something that you did with other people.
Yeah. Well, I started, the first one I went to was in Chicago, and then shortly after that I moved up to Wisconsin because I got into college in Wisconsin. So that's what brought me to Wisconsin. And then there was a group up here that was fairly new that had only been going for a couple of years, known as the Milwaukee Naughties. And they had just started to get people into it. They were trying to grow the group, and I started coming to the munches, meeting people. That's also when, as I said, between the duality of going to college and a lot of people in dorms, a lot of interesting late evenings in dorms with meeting people and the curiosities of not just myself, but some of the other engineering folk. And there was also a nursing program that was just a female-only nursing program there. And we were the male biomedical engineering students, so they needed guinea pigs to start IVs and do their nursing training, doing catheters and all that other stuff, and they needed practice, so they would run ads in the school paper saying, hey, we need someone to practice on, basically. So lo and behold, I thought, that sounds like a decent idea. And in return, then I was able to practice. I bought a couple of 10 units and started learning more electrical play, and then as they did medical play with me, I was able to learn things with them, and then it progressed into then, once I got out of college with the biomedical engineering, I decided to pursue more in EMS because I wasn't sure if I wanted to necessarily go in med school, but EMS was an easier progression. I found avenues to be able to go to school with, and still have a full-time job and work it through, develop that, but all along I just started enjoying it. I was good at what I would do with that. People would find confidence in my abilities to both, teach them, and people ask me, hey, show me how these work, because I could explain it in such depth to them because I took the time to do the research. I had the engineering background to say, this is how it's going to work with this, and I just didn't say, hey, just hook the pads up and it's some magical energy that I'm supplying to you. I was able to at least give them more information than they wanted, so people were willing to let me, quote unquote, zap them. And, in return, it was a learning because then I would embrace the medical side. And a TENS unit is a medical device, so they were kind of hand in hand. We had them where I went to school, and it was an easy access for me to get the things I needed to learn my trade.
Well, that's good. Let's talk for a minute about TENS units and what they are. And most people I talk to have just been exposed to them in chiropractors and have never considered using them in any kind of kink or in the bedroom. So when I bought one, that's immediately what I thought, of course, being in a lifestyle. But I would love to hear the transition, how you use them in the bedroom, and we can talk a little about what a TENS unit is for those that don't know.
Okay, so starting with, where would you like to start at?
Tell us a little bit about what a TENS unit is. as far as I know, it stands for transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, in a nutshell, it's a medical device designed for pain management. It's quite often used in sports injuries or injuries where there's nerve damage or nerve sensation. And what it basically does is you fix it on a certain mode or a level and a frequency and put it on the body, and after a while it will dull the nerve to the point that you won't feel the pain as much as you would normally. That's its original medical purpose.
And that sounds really scary. Is it dangerous?
No, because chiropractors use them they're used by doctors, sports injuries. That the difference is those devices are made specifically for use on the body, and they're stringently, scrutinized. And these devices that the quote unquote professionals use range anywhere from maybe $500 all the way up to $10,000.
Now,
the difference is as you go up in the quality of the unit, of course, safer electronics inside of them, better electronics so that they feel better. Certainly these, the medical field wants always the best for whatever patient they're using it on, things like that. So it's really up to the chiropractor. Even the basic unit that's certified for a chiropractor is a really good unit and it's safe for the body. Sure, with anything, as I said, the chiropractor has to be wary of people's medical concerns, pacemakers, cardiac issues. You don't just go into a chiropractor and they just wire you up. They give you a medical assessment and check you out and things like that. And I guess that's the biggest difference between how they approach doing it and the way a lot of people negatively approach doing it is because they don't take the time to figure out if the person's safe to do it on.
Okay. Let me stop you there for just a second because
Sure.
We're getting too far ahead. It's really good information and taking us right where we need to go. Because you go from the chiropractor and these $500 units, but then, for instance, I was looking online yesterday, and there's units on Amazon for as cheap as $26. And by the way, if any of the listeners want to do a search or look up TENS units, just take a look online and see what's out there. You can get them for as cheap as $25 all the way up to thousands. I bought mine for $150, and one of my sets of pads doesn't work. It's a little pocket TENS unit, and it came with shoes, so I could wear it on my feet as well. But let's talk about, can people get these? Can they trust the $26 unit they find on Amazon?
Well, I bought the $26 unit just to see how it was, just for the heck of it. You know what? Mm-hmm. There are some very quality, reasonably priced TENS units out there. And then there's some very horrible, reasonably priced TENS units out there. The difference has to do with there's very little regulation besides. There's two types of TENS units. The TENS units that you're buying medically, that can only be bought through medical channels because they have certain certifications on them that they're only restricted for purchase by a physician. They get away with selling them online because they tote it as they don't say that it necessarily cures anything, and it's more of a novelty device.
Okay. Because
there's not a lot of regulation to TENS units, unfortunately. And you're at the mercy of the company it makes them. The circuitry inside a TENS unit is not that complicated. Mm-hmm. The problem is that by it not being regulated, you're putting something attaching it to your body and you're going off what the company's manufactured. I'm always weary of those kind of things. Unless it's a reputable brand that they've taken the time to do a lot of testing, human body, they're not, because right in their disclaimers in their little booklets that they give you, that they say, don't use it, over the heart, don't use it above the waist, things like that. Mm-hmm. And they're in the clear if somebody hurts themselves because they stated right in there, don't do it that way. Mm-hmm. Now, mindfully enough, a $5,000 chiropractic TENS unit, maybe in that same manual says, don't use it above the waist unless you're a professionally trained individual in the usage of this. That's the difference. Is if you just buy one or get a hold of one that's even one of the professional grade units, and you're not a medical professional, you shouldn't be using it anyway, unless it's prescribed to you. And that's where, by it being prescribed to you for use to heal injury or something like that, they will preset it to what that injury needs to be, and they'll tell you exactly how to use it, show you how to put the pads on, and it's designed just for that specific use. You're not just using it random places at random settings and things like that. That's where the difference is. Whenever you're using electrical device not originally as it was intended or it's set to be used for, that's where, you have to be understanding of what the settings are and understand how it can affect the body. And that's where just buying one, just hooking up and just going off of, they have different voltages they give out, different currents, different waveforms. The heart operates on a certain frequency.
Okay.
It's a fairly low frequency, but if you get close enough to that frequency and you happen to buy a TENS unit that gets close to that frequency, that's where issues can come in. And that's where some of the dangers of, if you don't look at the little specification card on there and have an understanding of what the frequencies are, I mean, it's a medical device. There's specific things that it needs to understand, and that's where, on the $26 one, the other concern with the very inexpensive units, the way they save the money is they go cheap on the electronics inside of them. The components aren't as good. They're not going to last as long. You can accidentally short them out. They can short out internally and then potentially fail. And these are all things that these companies don't really care about because for $26, they have disclaimers right in there. We don't guarantee that it's going to not hurt you or not, but you know what?
David, you just scared the hell out of every person over 30 that wants to play with a TENS unit in their bedroom.
Well, I want them to. I don't want to scare anybody, but the concern is as I said, it's something that you're playing with electricity on the body. You have to, from a concern of just being safe on that. I guess the concern is just taking the time to, and part of this is educating everyone. Is that is the $26 TENS unit bad? No, you just have to realize that you have to take a little due regard to say, okay, is this device, well, like you said, where yours has bad pads. Get the unit. Does it look like it's made quality? Turn it on. Put it on a part of the body that's non-critical, not over the chest. Start on the arm, legs, something like that. See how it feels. See how your body responds to it. If it causes your muscles to contract very much in your legs, at a very low setting, it's a very powerful unit. I would be very wary about hooking it up to. I've seen DOMs hook 10 units up to areas and just start pressing the buttons up and up and up. Well, if you don't have an understanding, those things can get excruciatingly painful very quickly.
And you should try them on yourself, correct, before you put them on anyone else.
Yeah, I've any device that I use on someone else, I've tried it on myself, so I have an understanding of what I'm seeing on the dials reflects how much it feels. Now, everybody's pain threshold is different, but it does give a better understanding of where it is, because each person, you can put pads on different people. It's going to feel different to each person. I can't just walk up to someone and say, you're going to want level 5 on this unit. No. People's different. They're different if they drank a lot of water, there's salt content in the body. There's so many variables in this that you really have to, with each person, learn the unit, not just, I can do this much with this person, so here, let's just hook it on and crank it up to this, and you're going to enjoy it. No. Okay,
well, for me, I know that it doesn't really feel like electrical shock either. It just kind of feels like a tapping, even a massage. That's what I love about it.
Right.
So I just want to tell the listeners that it doesn't. You're not feeling like you're getting shocked. I mean, when you say electrical stimulation, I think we all picture that cat in the Creep Show movie that was jumping up and down every time there were shocks on the floor and his hair was standing up. So it's not really like that. It's a very, the feeling is, and I actually have some sound bites I'm going to plug into this of some people we tried it on, but the feeling is very, can be soothing, can be relaxing, can be very sensual.
Yes.
So tell us about husband and wife, boring sex life. They're like, hey, let's get one of these and try it and see if we like it. Where do they get started? How would they start?
I would ideally go through one of there is several companies. I'm not, is it all right to mention the companies that would be associated with these? Sure. Okay, there's Sex Tech, there's Pez, there's think it's Eastham Systems. It's over in the United Kingdom, but there's 5 major